Hey there, Burned In Teachers. Welcome to episode 192 of the Burned In Teacher podcast. Today, in meeting number 7, we are going to dive into chapter 6 of my book, Hacking Teacher Burnout. We're going to talk all things determining your long-term goals to help you to create a vision for where you want to go, not just in your career and education, but in life. Let's dive in. Your choice to begin and continue working in education should not be taken lightly. But how do you manage it all while keeping that fire burning bright so you can show up in your classroom and in life as your best self every day? That's what this show is all about. Welcome to the Burned In Teacher podcast. I'm Amber Harper, classroom teacher, author of Hacking Teacher Burnout, and with more and more teachers quitting the profession or accepting #teacher misery as their forever reality, I step in as your teacher burnout coach to help you take your next best steps to creating a happier and more fulfilled career and life. Now, let's take one more step forward and out of burnout together so we can burn on. Shall we? Let's go. Hello and welcome into episode 192. We are starting meeting number 7 of the summer 2023 summer book study series where we're going through my book, Hacking Teacher Burnout. If you are new around here, don't just shut off this episode. I want to encourage you to consider joining us for this book study, no matter what time of year you are finding this episode. What I also encourage you to do is go to Amazon or barnesandnoble.com, find my book, Hacking Teacher Burnout by Amber Harper, and go to TPT, find Burned In Teacher, and get the Hacking Teacher Burnout book study guide so you can go along with us on previous episodes, starting with episode 186 of the Burned In Teacher podcast, where I kick off this book study where I'm taking you chapter by chapter through the reflection questions to help you to not just read the book, but take action in order to change your life and to grow through your burnout. Alongside of this book study and us going chapter by chapter using the book and the study guide, I am also encouraging people who are going on this journey with us to join us inside of the Burned In Teacher podcast Facebook community. It's totally free to join. You can go to facebook.com/groups/burnedinteacher. And speaking of the Facebook group, we've got some really fun little challenges and questions that we're asking readers of the book to answer so people can engage with each other and kind of just really understand that there are other teachers out there who want to do differently and who want to have different conversations and who want to encourage each other in this time when talking about teaching can go in such a different direction. So recently we asked the question inside of the Burned In Teacher podcast Facebook community, what is your theme song? So in the spirit of moving forward and getting yourself pumped up, we asked our readers of the book and members of the community, what is a theme song that gets you pumped up and a little extra motivated whenever you need it? And we have had so many people comment of their favorite songs that they love to turn up as loud as they possibly can whenever they're feeling a little down. So they have Roar, My Lighthouse, Firework, The Secret of My Success, Night Ranger. Some of these songs are a little new to me. I'll have to maybe add them to the Burned In Teacher Spotify playlist. I'll talk about that here in just a second. Ain't Nothing Going to Break My Stride, Metallica, awesome. Get Back Up Again by Anna Kendrick in Trolls, or Try Everything in Zootopia. I love that these songs are coming from movies because I love songs from movies as well. And Pump It Up by Elvis Costello. So I will go ahead and add those songs to the Burned In Teacher Spotify playlist. We're going to put a link to it here in the show notes of this episode. But if you didn't know, there is a playlist full of power songs that I myself really enjoy whenever I need to refocus my attention on moving forward, using my strengths to get out of, specific maybe slumps that I'm having, whether at school or in my personal life. So I want to invite you to get a hold of that playlist as well. So we are going to dive in today to hack number 6. And this is all about determining your long-term goals. And as I was thinking about what specific personal story that I'd like to share with you today, it was pretty easy for me to determine what it is that I wanted to tell you about. And I first had to do a little bit of searching physically in my closet here in my office for a specific notebook. The first notebook, journal, if you will, is what it turned into, that I had ever had in my adult life. And so, as you know, I've shared with you the story of, my infamous breakdown that I had in 2014. And then, leaving education for the first time for what I thought was an opportunity, ended up not working out. And then ended up back in the classroom in 2015, fall of 2015, new district, new grade level, new principal, new everything. I was still doing a lot of learning about myself. I was still doing a lot of self-reflection. I was still just really kind of sifting through all of these things that had happened, in the recent year and a half and the years previous to figure out where it was that I wanted to go from here, because I had really determined and decided that I didn't want to stay in this burned out, frustrated, overwhelmed, defeated, helpless state that I felt like I was in. And there was one friend who, as I was talking about really just wanting to change my life and live differently, that she really was my builder-upper. Her name is Jen. So Jen, if you're listening, this is about our meeting at McDonald's in 2016. I have the date written here. It was January 16th, 2016. This is the actual journal that I took. We both brought journals with us, and our goal of meeting after school one day at McDonald's was to just talk about what we wanted and to talk about some SMART goals that we wanted to set for ourselves. And so I have a list here of some of the things that I wrote down. So it says goals at the top. It says run without knee pain. I had, again, been injured from running. As you know, I've talked about this before, both on Instagram and here on the podcast, that I've struggled with being injured and I love to run. That is one way that I, process, challenges. It's one way I just choose to take care of myself, but I keep getting injured. So I was struggling with knee pain at that point. I wanted to decide what I wanted to do in my career. So under that, I put look for opportunities for growth and education, maybe start my own business. You have to remember, Burden Teacher was not a thing yet. That didn't come about until April, so about 3 or 4 months later. I wanted to reach my weight and fitness goals. I wanted to communicate better. I wanted to be on time more often. I wanted to purchase less and be more mindful. And under that, I wrote down some SMART goals about what I never knew what SMART goals were: specific, meaningful, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and timely. And I go through all of that in the book, by the way. This should sound really familiar. But another one, a big one that I forgot to mention, it's kind of scribbled over, is move out of Ligonier, move out of where we were living at that time. And I remember sitting here in front of Jen, and she was also sharing her goals, and we almost felt silly having this conversation. And I remember, taking some time to talk to each other about like why this wasn't silly, why we shouldn't feel like just because we're married with kids and we have careers that we aren't worthy of having goals for ourselves. And it just felt really good to kind of get that out into the open and have this conversation about how we deserve to still want more or want different for ourselves. And dare I say, even better. I've said before, if you're not getting better, you're getting bitter. And I had definitely reached that point of feeling like I was pretty bitter about where I was. But it was no one else's responsibility but my own to determine where I was going to go next. So I am happy to report that I have met a lot of these goals. I mean, gosh, this was 6 years ago now, 6.5 years ago. I got knee surgery. I got, the pain that I was having so much in my knee had to be corrected with surgery, a very minimally invasive surgery, but I had the surgery the following November. I decided what I wanted to do. It took months, it took years, but I decided what I wanted to do in my career. We moved. As I've already told you that story, I've continued to work on my health and my fitness. That continues to be a really important part of my life. I continue to work on my communication. I'm really working hard on being mindful about all things in my life, not just about what I purchase and what I don't, but about all things. And since then, this is 6 years later, I've grown in many ways and I've set new goals for myself. And so that's what I want for you today. I want you to know that you are worthy of setting goals for yourself and you are worthy of the hard work that it takes. And sometimes it's not even as hard as we tell ourselves that it's going to be to achieve those goals. And those goals will shift and they'll be different than other people's, but they're yours. And that's what matters most of all. So in today's hack, we're going to get clear about what you want for yourself. We're going to determine the things that you will say yes and no to that will help you to reach your goal. And then we're going to set those goals, and this is just a beginning point. The goals that you set during this hack don't have to remain exactly the same. This is just action breeding more action. There is no right way to get from point A to point B. It's typically not linear. It's typically getting most of the way to B and then realizing, I think I'm going to shift this a little bit to make this match where I am now. It won't just take a week. Typically, it'll take weeks, months, maybe even years. But what this is doing is it's setting forth a vision for what you want your life to look like and feel like and who you want to be and what you're going to have to do to get there. So I give you some action steps that you can choose from in the What You Can Do Tomorrow section on pages 141 to 143. And while I'm not going to share all of the choices that you have of what you can do tomorrow, I want to share with you my two favorite, and that is to write it down and then repeat what you want. Say it out loud. Pretend you've already achieved it. What you're doing when you write down the things that you really want to help you to figure out truly what you want, and then you pick those things and you write them down over and over again and you say them out loud over and over again, or you pretend like you've already achieved it, you're doing what Napoleon Hill calls autosuggestion. You can also call it manifesting. What happens whenever we are honest with ourselves about what we want is that we will find more opportunities to get that thing or to get to that place or no matter what it is that we're looking for. Our brains are wired to seek and find the things that we want the most. And that's called your reticular activating system. This happened to me back in 2017 when we were getting a new car. I could not find one that I really wanted until I sat in a Subaru Outback and I was like, yes, this is it. This is the one I want. And then from the moment I decided that, on our way home, I saw like 50 Subaru Outbacks, and I had never paid attention to them before, but my brain was on high alert for that thing that I wanted in my life really badly. And we ended up buying one a couple of months later. Hey, real quick, I'm jumping in here to let you know that if you're enjoying this summer book study series of Hacking Teacher Burnout, then you would be a perfect fit for Burned In Teacher University. And since you've dedicated yourself to this summer book club, I want to say thank you. So go to burnedinteacher.com/course and enter the code BOOKCLUB, all one word, at checkout for $28 off of forever access to Burned In Teacher University. That's right. You can enroll today, right now, for $99. This online course is more than Hacking Teacher Burnout in course form. In my signature course, you'll find 8 modules of video lessons and bonus resources where I'll guide you through my burned in process to help you move through the 5 stages of burnout. Each module includes self-paced video lessons incorporating a mindset focus and a time and energy focus to set you up for success as you implement the material. And that is something you won't find in the book. So go to burnedinteacher.com/course and enter code BOOKCLUB, all one word, at checkout to get your money back for the $28 you've already spent. And I can't wait to see you inside the course that has changed my life and so many others from around the world. Now, back to the book study series. So then to start the blueprint for full implementation, once you've kind of explored these things that you would like to do, We're going to kind of repeat a practice that we've already done. And we're repeating this because this is something you should do often. And that is just doing a brain dump of everything that's on your mind that you would like to see come into your life. So I'm going to ask you again to do a big dreams brain dump, just like I asked you to do in the previous chapter. And this one is really thinking about what you want to see come into your life within the next year, within the next few years. Like, what do you envision for yourself? And I was just actually having a conversation with a burned-in teacher member in my membership the other day. She said, I am going through Burned-in Teacher University, and I am to the step now where I'm supposed to determine, what my goals are and what I want to see happen in my life in the next year or two. And I'm struggling. And I said, well, this is a muscle. This is something you have to continue to practice over and over and over again. Because if you're used to living on autopilot, building this bank of things that you want to bring into your life to improve yourself over the next few years will be a little difficult at first. But I said also, we have to be very careful that we're not telling ourselves that we want things that other people want. Like, these do not have to be dreams of climbing Mount Everest or quitting your job to open your own coffee shop. Like, you can have a perfectly valid goal of just saying, I want to remain content with teaching second grade. I want to build better relationships with people that I work with. Or, it could be I think I'm done teaching fifth grade. I think I'm ready to move into a counseling position or an administrative role. Your goals are yours, and they are not comparable to whether they are better or worse or more valid than anybody else's. They're yours. The next couple of steps in this practice of helping you to just really explore what it is that you want in your life in the next few years is to explore things like, what are you going to say yes? What are you going to say no to in the next couple of years? What is it that's gone well for you? Like, what are all of the good things that have happened? What has not gone well for you? Like, really being honest about what hasn't gone the way that you had hoped that it would go. What's a heck yes? What's a heck no over the next year? What is it that you're going to really consider your opportunity cost? And then what you're going to do is really think about, what do you want to see yourself doing, or where do you want to see yourself being in the next year? And again, you don't have to show this to anybody. This is just you and yourself just having a nice conversation about what it is that you want for yourself in the next year. And how about the next 3 years? Maybe even 5 years if you want to go that far in advance. This doesn't necessarily mean that these will be your goals that will be, written in stone, but it's just allowing yourself that space to dream. And you're going to do this for your personal goals and your professional goals, because I can tell you from experience, as I've already shared with you, we should have both. We should not just measure our success or our happiness or our fulfillment on how quote unquote far we're getting or how high we're climbing that ladder in our careers. And then one of my favorite steps of this chapter is to determine your word of the year. So you're going to go back through all of this brain dumping, all of this dreaming, and highlight words that are synonymous with one another. So really think about what word could you come back to whenever you are struggling with a decision. Should I say yes? Should I say no? Is this going to help me to achieve what I want to see happen in my life within the next year or a couple of years? And if the answer is no, then you say no. If the answer is heck yes, then it's a heck yes. And finally, with your word of the year in hand and all of this dreaming that you've done, you are going to really dive deep into the top 3 goals or the top 2 goals. It's really up to you. How are you going to make those happen? So you're going to turn those into SMART goals, and we have all of those details in the book, in Hacking Teacher Burnout on page 147. So I'm so excited for you to dive into this. I cannot wait for you to share what conclusions you come to for you right now in the Burned-in Teacher Podcast Facebook community. And lastly, before we sign off for today, I want to invite you to talk to me specifically about these goals that you have for yourself. We are going to have a Meet the Author event on Monday, August 7th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can go to burnedinteacher.com/meet to sign up to meet with me, and hopefully many other teachers who have read this book along with us this summer, so we can talk about our wins and ask questions. I'm not going to be speaking about anything specifically. This is just a fun time for us to meet and say hi and meet face to face so that we can just see people behind the pages. As I mentioned earlier in an earlier episode, I love seeing your faces and getting to know the people who are diving into this book and going on this journey with me. I'm just so excited to meet all of you. Again, go to burnedinteacher.com/meet. Enter your first name and email address. That way we know where to send the Zoom link to you. And I cannot wait to see all of you on August 7th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So again, I'm so proud of you. You should be so proud of yourself for doing these hard things that maybe, a few weeks ago you thought that you weren't worthy of, that you thought were not possible for you. And I hope now that you understand that you are capable and worthy of having goals and dreams outside of where you are right now. And I will see you next week when we dive into hack number 7, initiate lasting change. So your assignment is to read pages 153 through 169. Don't forget to dive into the reflection practices and questions inside of the book study guide. And I will see you next week. Now take a deep breath, my friends, because you just took another step to becoming a burned-in teacher. Burn on. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. To keep this conversation going, connect with me on Instagram at burnedinteacher. I'm always ready and willing to have a conversation with you about your burnout and ways I can help you to move through it. If you're looking for support in growing through your burnout in ways you never thought possible, check out my online course, Burned In Teacher University, at burnedinteacher.com/course. I'll see you in the next episode. Burn on.